I didn't even let the phone ring long. I already knew it was Randall. Some voices don't need introductions. They arrive with pressure, the kind you feel behind your eyes before a storm. "We need to talk," he said. No greeting, no concern, just urgency dressed up as authority. "There's nothing left," I told him. There was a pause. "There is," he said, "if you care about this family." Family. He always said it like leverage, like a card he thought I'd never stop playing. I agreed to meet him. Public place. Daylight. Witnesses without names. The cafe was already awake when I arrived. People typing, stirring sugar, pretending not to listen, while listening to everything. I sat by the window. Sunlight across the table like a line you don't cross accidentally. Randall came late, on purpose. He sat down without asking. Suit pressed, smile arranged. "You blindsided us," he said. I looked at him carefully. I told the truth. He lowered his voice. "You didn't have to do it that way. There isn't gentle way to tell people the foundation they're standing on isn't real." He didn't deny it. "We can settle it," he said. That word, settle, what people say when they realize control has shifted, but pride won't let them admit it. "You don't need all of it," he added. I let the silence answer first. "There it is," I said. His jaw tightened. "You're making enemies." "No, I'm finally meeting them." That's when I saw it. Not anger, fear. "If this goes to court," he warned, "people who rely on threats never like specifics. Details remove their flexibility." "I'll see you in court," he said, standing too fast. "Yes," I replied. "You will." That afternoon, my lawyer called. "They've filed," she said. "Proceed," I told her. And when I hung up, I didn't feel scared. I felt something steadier. Because once papers are filed, truth stops being optional. They thought this was a fight. They didn't understand yet. It was a reckoning. And reckoning doesn't ask permission. Court doesn't begin with arguments. It begins with paper. They called her confused, vulnerable, easily influenced. They said it gently, like concern. But I heard what it really was. Convenient. That night, I went to her house. Not out of anger, out of instinct. Grief sharpens certain senses. It tells you where to look. The house still smelled like her. Old books, clean linen, lavender that never quite fades. I didn't rush. People who rush miss things. I opened drawers she kept neat on purpose. Folders labeled in her careful handwriting. Dates, tabs, margins marked with quiet insistence. Then I found the journals. 3 of them. Not hidden, not dramatic. Placed where someone wanted them found by the right person. Each one indexed. Each entry dated. Each page precise. This wasn't rambling. This was record-keeping. I sat at her dining table and opened the first one. The handwriting was steady. Not shaky, not confused. "If anything happens to me," she wrote, "this will explain why my will looks the way it does." I closed my eyes for a moment. She had known. Not suspected. Not worried. Known. Page after page, she documented everything. Conversations, changes in tone, requests that came dressed as help. Names appeared more than once, always in the same order. Patterns don't announce themselves. They wait for someone patient enough to notice. They said she was weak. They were wrong. She wasn't weak. She was careful. Careful people don't shout. They write things down. By the time I finished the 3rd journal, my hands were steady. My chest wasn't. This wasn't about inheritance anymore. It never had been. This was preparation. She hadn't left me answers. She had left me proof. The next hearing wouldn't be about money. It wouldn't be about sentiment. It would be about exposure. And once exposure begins, it doesn't stop where people want it to. They thought the paper trail ended at the will. They never imagined she'd been writing the ending herself. The courtroom felt heavier that morning. Not louder. Heavier. As if the walls had learned something and were waiting to see who else would. The journals were read aloud. Not all at once. not dramatically, slowly, carefully, one entry at a time. Each sentence landed like a measured step forward. I watched their faces. At first, they tried to call it opportunism, a man taking advantage, a moment of weakness. That story didn't last long, because opportunism is careless. This wasn't. This was coordination. Emails surfaced. Not emotional ones, not angry ones, efficient ones. Move it before she notices. Delay the paperwork. Keep it internal. Language stripped of guilt. Clean enough to pretend it wasn't human. Subpoenas followed. Names multiplied. The room changed shape again. Randall started to panic. I noticed it in small ways. The stiffness in his shoulders. The way he stopped meeting eyes. People don't panic loudly at first. They leak. Then came the call. "Let this end quietly," he said. I let him finish speaking. "That option expired," I replied. Silence returned, but it felt different now. Another name appeared on the docket. Not a small one. A trusted one. Respected. The kind of name people don't expect to see there. That's when I understood. This was never about inheritance. It wasn't about family. It was about exposure. And exposure doesn't care who it embarrasses. It only cares who it reaches. Systems don't protect people. People protect, until the truth breaks through them. After, no one spoke freely anymore. Rooms learned caution. People who jovially chatted now measured every word like it could be used later, because it could. Files moved faster than faces. Systems filled. Subpoenas, people who expect chaos prepare for noise. People who fear truth prepare for silence. Then came the bank statements. Stacks of them. Clean, unemotional. Withdrawals. Dates. Repeating amounts. Patterns don't raise their voices. They don't need to. Names appeared. Not once, not twice. Consistently. The judge leaned forward. "Were you authorized?" The answer came too late. Not formally. Silence answered for him. Silence always does when numbers are finished speaking. Forensic accounting was ordered. No drama, just inevitability. Paper doesn't respond to charm. Numbers don't forget. They remember what people hope will be overlooked. I sat still as the room adjusted to a new reality. This wasn't about what he took. That was already clear. The question had shifted. How long had he been taking it, and who else had known? When no one spoke to me, they didn't need to. The numbers had said enough. People think money hides secrets. It doesn't. It records them. At first, they tried to call it opportunism. A man taken advantage, a moment of weakness. That story didn't last long, because opportunism is careless. This wasn't. This was coordination. Emails surfaced. Not emotional ones, not angry ones, efficient ones. Move it before she notices. Delay the paperwork. Keep it internal. Language stripped of guilt. Clean enough to pretend it wasn't human. Subpoenas followed. Names multiplied. The room changed shape again. Randall started to panic. I noticed it in small ways. The stiffness in his shoulders. The way he stopped meeting eyes. People don't panic loudly at first. They leak. Then came the call. "Let this end quietly," he said. I let him finish speaking. "That option expired," I replied. Silence returned, but it felt different now. Another name appeared on the docket. Not a small one. A trusted one. A respected one. The kind of name people don't expect to see there. That's when I understood. This was never about inheritance. It wasn't about family. It was about exposure. And exposure doesn't care who it embarrasses. It only cares who it reaches. Systems don't protect people. People protect until the truth breaks through them. Episode when the walls start listening. After, no one spoke freely anymore. Rooms learned caution. People who the once now measured every word like it could be used later, because it could. Files moved faster than faces. Systems filled. Subpoenas, silence. Emails were printed, threads reconstructed, not what was said out loud, but what was said when they thought no one was watching. I sat through those days quietly, not invisible, just unbothered. Fear makes people loud. Certainty makes them still. Randall stopped calling me directly. That told me more than any message ever could. Lawyers replaced voices, statements replaced explanations, and suddenly everything was out of context. That's the phrase people reach for when context has already caught up with them. The judge ordered a deeper review, not because of suspicion, because of consistency. Too many details lined up, too many patterns repeated. Patterns don't form by accident. They require agreement. Meetings were scheduled, then postponed. Documents requested, then amended. Every delay confirmed the same thing. This wasn't panic anymore. It was containment. I watched Randall across the room one afternoon. He looked smaller. Not internally. Power shrinks when it has to explain itself. He didn't look at me. That used to bother me. It didn't anymore, because usually because they can finally see you clearly. The system kept moving, slow, unimpressed. Systems, they don't feel betrayed. They just until there's nothing left to give. And I knew then, whatever wouldn't be negotiated. It would be recorded. They still believed this could be managed. The walls had already started listening. At first, they tried to slow it down. Requests, clarifications, refilings, physically. People don't keep stop asking came didn't for looking for more you. Angry, proof next realize, extensions, the language of delay. But delay only works when nothing is moving underneath. Here, everything was. Another name appeared on the docket. Not quietly, not accidentally. A name people trusted. The kind of name that opened doors without asking. That's when the room changed. Not with shock, with recognition. Because everyone knows the truth before they admit it. They just wait to see who will say it first. Randall finally looked at me again, not with anger, with something closer to disbelief, as if he'd only just realized this was real. Phones rang late at night, not to me, to lawyers, to advisors, to people who used to promise protection. Those calls didn't go the way they hoped. Protection has limits, especially once it's written down. Charges followed, not theatrical, measured. Assets were frozen, not paused. The difference matters, because freezing isn't punishment, it's prevention. It before the wound can be named. I wasn't asked to react. No one needed my response. This wasn't emotional anymore. It was administrative. And how serious something is when feelings stop being relevant, when outcomes stop being negotiable. The WHO felt betrayed. It cared about records, and the records were clear. They thought names would protect them. Until they don't. Rushed, seized, stops. That's system always of the when. Didn't bleeding, the people due process, realize, care. When everything finally went quiet, I understood what Marlene had been doing all along. She wasn't preparing for conflict. She was preparing for time. Time exposes what force never can. The will stood. It didn't survive because I fought harder. It survived because it was done right before anyone thought it would be challenged. Her journals became part of the record. Not memories, not explanations. A timeline. And timelines don't argue. They just show up. They stopped questioning her state of mind. They stopped questioning mine. Because paper doesn't forget. And facts don't get confused when they're allowed to speak in order. I returned to her house one last time. Not to search, not to collect. Just to sit. The rooms felt lighter, as if something heavy had finally been released. People think she left me money. She didn't. Moves. Money changes hands quietly. What was responsibility? The two responsibility for the comfort of others. Some people inherit wealth. Others inherit clarity. Clarity lasts longer. She not because it doesn't require permission. If you remember one thing, silence protects power, but paper protects truth. And given always stands on its own. This was never a story about inheritance. It was a story about endurance. And when it's always outlives deception, disappears, left to finish, soften, listening, enough, quiet, what, and me, she to the started, truth, this,
patience, truth, time, endurance, deliberate,